I, 22M, am in medical school and my fiancé, 22F, freaked out after seeing a diagram of female reproductive parts in my anatomy textbook. Together for 6 years. I don't know what to do. Some backstory. My fiancée Annie and I have known each other since we were children and began dating junior year of high school. After high school, we both went to our state school and I asked her to marry me junior year of undergrad. I've always dreamt of being a doctor, as has she. When the application progress began, I applied to a good mix of MD and DO schools of varying degrees of selectivity, though all med schools are insanely selective. I had initially planned on continuing my education in my state institution because I did not want to take on too much debt. I did end up getting into my state's med school, but I also unexpectedly was offered a spot at one of the best med schools in the country, like one of the top 3, in New England. We are from the West Coast. I would have been inclined to reject the offer had I not also qualified for a partial but significant scholarship. It would still cost me more out of pocket than my state school would, but not significantly so, maybe a couple $1,000s more. Annie, despite pleas from myself, our parents, professors, advisors, etc., applied to only our state school into some insanely selective top 10 MD schools that she, to be blunt, had no chance of getting into given her admittedly mediocre grades and research experience. She was rejected from all the schools she applied to, including our state institution. Obviously, this crushed her, and I've tried my best to support her during a difficult time and to help her remain optimistic. Our situation now is this. I'm currently enrolled at the aforementioned New England Medical School, while Annie has decided to take a year off to strengthen her profile with research experience, physician shadowing, etc., and is currently living with me. There were no jobs open related to her undergrad major, political science, here or in our home state that would be able to give her sufficient time off for research, so she is currently working part-time in the retail industry. I've tried my best to be completely supportive of her as I know this is a difficult time for her, and I never ever said I told you so, or anything along those lines. This is what ended up happening on Friday night. I was home studying for a test on Monday when Annie came home from work. She came over to my desk and kissed me. I asked her how her day went and she didn't respond, and suddenly looked very pissed off. After a few moments she said, "What is wrong with you, textbook throwaway?" while pointing at an anatomical diagram of female reproductive organs in my textbook. I was speechless. After regaining my composure, I managed to let out a surprised, "What do you mean? I'm studying." To which she said something along the lines of, "You know what I mean. Why are you looking at pictures of other women's privates?" This was very strange because she knows I occasionally watch inappropriate content and has no problem with it. In fact, I know that she enjoys the same content from time to time as well. I explained to her that I have to take anatomy in medical school, but she wasn't having it. She took my textbook and stormed off to our bedroom and locked the door. I could hear her crying and I kept apologizing. After a few minutes, she opened the door and threw her engagement ring at me before slamming it shut again to continue crying. I continued apologizing, but she did not respond at all. I spent the rest of the night on the couch. Saturday morning, she wasn't home. I checked my phone and there was a text from her saying that she was staying with a friend and that she was done with us, unless I dropped out of medical school and found another job because, and this is an honest-to-God text from her, she doesn't want me oogling at other women's private parts like a pervert. This is completely out of character for her. She's always been level-headed and reasonable, and has no history of mental illness or anything like that. I am not a stupid person, and I know that this has way more to do than a picture of female reproductive organs in an anatomy textbook, but I have no idea what to do right now. She has stopped responding to texts and won't pick up her phone. I spoke to the friend she's staying with who basically called me a jerk and said that Annie is crying and getting drunk, and that neither of them want me coming over to speak with her. Her parents passed when we were young children, and she doesn't have any siblings or much other family. I have no idea what to do anymore. I love her more than anything, but there is absolutely no way I am dropping out of medical school for her, and I would rather we break up than I bend to her completely unreasonable demands. But I am very concerned for her mental health right now, and need any advice I can get. I'm sorry for the grammar and formatting. I just can't think straight right now. Yeah, this one is absolutely ridiculous. In a lot of these sorts of stories, you can usually kind of understand where the other person is coming from, but this just seems like a willful attempt to try and ruin things between OP and his GF. I would say that OP needs to get out of this situation now before it gets really bad. And I think that OP made the right decision in prioritizing his career over his GF, especially now that she's being this unstable. Update. I'll save you the trouble. She wasn't cheating nor was she pregnant. Yesterday I decided that enough was enough and I headed over to where she was staying, intent on ending the relationship. When I got there, she was half drunk. What followed was a lot of screaming and cussing directed at me. I learned why she wanted me to drop out. It had nothing to do with textbook diagrams. When I was a sophomore, two of my friends dropped out of college to work on their tech startup full-time and invited me to come work with them. My undergrad degree was in comp sci. I rejected the offer because I wanted to concentrate on my dream, becoming a doctor. Fortunately, their startup did very well, and last year they sold it to a large tech company for a very large sum of money, in the low 8 figures. I was thrilled for them. After they sold the company, both of them obviously had large lifestyle changes. One of them proposed to his girlfriend with a ridiculously big diamond, and they are frequently vacationing in exotic locations with family and SOs. Apparently, their success and lifestyles made my girlfriend extremely jealous, and she came up with the textbook thing as a way for me to drop out of med school, because she thinks I can easily get a job making $150K a year at a bank so we wouldn't have to live like refugees, and that I am an idiot for not doing so. Still, I was confused. I asked her about our dreams of being doctors. Turns out she never really wanted to go into medicine, but only claimed to because it was all I ever talked about. I guess that explains her application strategy. I was done. I broke up with her on the spot and told her not to contact me again. She is going to continue staying with a friend while we figure out a living arrangement. That is absolutely ridiculous that OP's ex was willing to throw everything away. 6 years worth of relationship just because she didn't get the lifestyle she wanted. Honestly though, I think it's for the better. OP discovered what kind of person his ex was, and I'm very glad that he won't have to spend the rest of his life with someone as terrible as that. Should I, 48M, tell my wife, 44F, that I received an inappropriate tape of her in the mail? This is an odd thing. Wife and I have been married 20 years. Never suspected her of cheating, and our lovemaking life has been outstanding. First of the year, I receive a package in the mail. It's a DVD addressed to me, and a typed note that says, "Your eyes only." It's my wife making love, separately, with 3 guys. She was younger, much younger. Based on body and appearance and hairstyle, it was around the time we were going out, either before, during, or after we were engaged. She grew her hair out longer for the wedding and kept it that way. Firstly, I have no idea who sent it to me other than one of those 3 guys in the DVD, none of which I know. I'm assuming it's one of my wife's exes. Second, I have no idea why they sent it. Are they trying to say she was screwing around on me? The tape isn't timestamped, so I don't have a frame of reference. She kept her hair short for years until we were engaged, so it could have been during a block of time, certainly before we dated. Also, what were they trying to achieve if this was taken before we dated? I know my wife had other partners. Hell, I had 3 times the partners she did before we married, but that was 20 years ago. I think we're past that, but apparently this person or persons isn't. The whole thing is strange. I'm not sure what's going on. I haven't told my wife. I'm not sure how she would take it. It's very inappropriate and adventurous, so I don't think she'd like the idea of her past catching up to her. But I don't think I'll get to the bottom of this unless I tell her. There's already a lot of intrigue on this one. So much mystery, so many questions left unanswered. Hopefully we actually solve some of these mysteries as we go further in. Update. I'm overwhelmed by the responses. Thank you for your interest. I did speak to my wife yesterday afternoon. Some mentioned letting her watch it in private, and I gave her that option. She did, and we talked at length. Some of it is a bit clearer now. The 2 amateur-looking videos are 2 roommates, taken on the same night. That's why the camera doesn't move, and that's why the room is the same. I asked why the bed looks different, and she said the sheets were a bit messy, so they changed them before they had another go. The other is a boyfriend she dated when her and I met, before we actually started dating. She knows this man is friends with one of the before-mentioned roommates and thinks it's him who got the 3 videos together and sent them to us. Why? She admits that last summer he tried connecting with her on Facebook. When she did, he tried to make it inappropriate again, so she stopped. She thinks he sent the DVD to cause an issue with us. For the first time, I now have doubts. Her answers are logical, but seem a bit off to me. And honestly, I may just be upset that she did 2 guys in one night. I know it was 20 years ago, but that's still hard to take. Call me shallow if you want. Also, she didn't seem shaken by the DVD or the fact that I had it, merely irritated that this person sent it. I had the idea she'd rather I didn't have it, but now that I did, oh well. It still leaves many questions unanswered, such as why the tapes are from 96 to 97 and the DVD was made in 2013, but I'm just getting it now? That may be minor, but it may be everything. Plus, how does this gentleman know where I live? Facebook doesn't give you that information. Being in contact with someone does, so now you see why I have doubts. Thank you for all your concern and feedback. I love my wife and cherish her, and her past is her past, but for some reason it's slapping us in the face right now. I will take some time between the 2 of us to figure out what's truly going on. I am curious to see where this ends up. Hopefully OP figures out what's actually going on. Update 2. I want to clarify something. I've been getting a lot of feedback, mostly negative, where everyone is irritated with me that I'm upset with my wife for being with 2 men in the same night. None of my business. It was 20 years ago, I should man up, that sort of thing. Look, I said it was hard to take. Most men understand their partner was different with people before seeing them, but seeing their spouse with 2 men on the same night is hard to handle. I didn't say I was changing my view of her, or leaving, or any other angst you want to put on me. It's just a difficult thing for a married man to see and realize. I'll get past it, but it's not an easy thing. And for everyone who says it was 20 years ago, lighten up. I challenge you to sit back, grab a beer, and watch 2 young men have intercourse with your wife on the same night and see how you feel about it. Frustrated at best. You won't love her less, but you'll not feel great afterwards. Trust me. So thanks for everyone calling me a jerk, but until you're in that position, I'll ignore you. Thank you very much. Final edit. This will be my final update. Thank you all for your support, but all I will say is it's time for me to make some decisions. I hacked into my wife's Facebook account, childish and immature I'll admit, but I did it nonetheless, and I found things disturbing enough that I need to think long and hard about what I do next. I've given her the benefit of the doubt throughout this entire thing. Now a shadow has been cast and I'm questioning her more than ever before. Heartbroken is putting it mildly. It's time for me to work on my life and myself. Thanks to everyone and their interest. That was an awfully cryptic end to that story. I wonder what he found. Maybe we'll never know for sure, but whatever it was, it certainly didn't sound good. Am I wrong for not letting my boyfriend be the hero while we were getting mugged at knife point? My boyfriend is a big hero fanatic and does everything in his power to be like one. It's really endearing and it's one of the many things I love about him, because he wants to be the good he wishes to see in the world. But this mindset he has is why we are fighting right now. We've been quarantining at my apartment. He's not on the lease, and he suggested we go on a night walk since we've been getting stir crazy from being inside all day. He figured that it would be better for social distancing to go out at night. I was hesitant because we lived in a bad neighborhood, but he assured me he'd protect me. On our walk, we were cornered by a man with a knife that demanded our wallets. I remember John Mulaney's Street Smarts bit from the Netflix show and was going to throw my wallet past the mugger so we could run away. But my boyfriend started arguing with him and was spouting off a bunch of stuff about justice and how the mugger wouldn't get away with this. It looked like he was getting ready to fight. I was taken aback by this, and I guess the mugger was too, because it gave me enough time to take the important stuff out of my wallet while he was distracted. I interrupted my boyfriend's monologue and said, "Take it, just don't hurt us," and threw it behind the guy. When he turned, I grabbed my boyfriend's hand and we booked it back to the apartment. We got home safely, and I was relieved that we were okay, but my boyfriend was fuming. He was pissed that I interrupted him from protecting me when he could have, in his words, clearly handled it himself. I told him he could have gotten himself killed. He said he was obviously stronger than the mugger and would have won. I explained to him that the guy had a weapon and my boyfriend didn't, so the odds were stacked against him. Not only that, but I didn't want my boyfriend to get killed over a wallet. We argued for longer than necessary, so I shut it down and told him we could talk about it when our adrenaline wasn't so high. But I needed to file a police report while the event was fresh. He stomped off to our room while I called the cops. When I was off the phone, I went to lay with him, but he rolled away from me. Next day, he was still angry and had already told his friends and family about what happened to us. I thought that they would be understanding about how I handled it, but they were mad at me for not letting him have his opportunity to be a hero. His mom even ridiculed me for emasculating him. I want to reopen the conversation so we can understand each other and move past it, but if he isn't receptive, I'm going to ask him to move back with his mom. I want to understand where I went wrong if I went wrong, but honestly, I feel like he's being childish and unreasonable. I just want to know, did I mess up or did he? The boyfriend is clearly in the wrong about this. His own pride is not worth getting stabbed over, much less having his girlfriend possibly get harmed as well. I think OP absolutely made the right choice by making sure that nobody got harmed. Objects and money can usually be replaced, but lives on the other hand cannot. Update. I just want to thank everyone who has commented. It relieves me to know that I'm not insane. He's still at his mom's house and I haven't heard from him, nor have I tried to reach out. All of his friends have ghosted me too, except for one of them, who's trying to mediate. If I don't hear from him tonight, I'll reach out tomorrow. I plan on updating in the comments depending on where this goes. Again, thank you to everyone for sharing your thoughts on this. Update. So he called me last night and I answered. He asked if I was okay and how I was doing. Then he asked if he could come over and I said he could. I planned on bringing everything up again myself because he had been very passive-aggressive and refusing to talk about it. But when he showed up, he immediately started apologizing. Everything you guys pointed out, he started agreeing with. He was saying he was just being delusional, unrealistic. The whole hero fantasy isn't healthy. He jeopardized my safety and that wasn't okay, etc. I wasn't prepared for this behavior, especially compared to how he'd been acting all week. We talked for hours before going to bed together and everything seemed like it worked out fine. I was really really on the verge of ending things, so it was a relief I didn't have to in that moment. Then this morning came and things went terribly. In my comment update on the last post, I mentioned that a friend was trying to mediate. I texted that friend that things worked out, and they said something along the lines of, "I'm so glad you were able to apologize." Some people mentioned that maybe he told a different story, which isn't something I looked into, but I decided to ask, and woo boy, am I glad I did. Firstly, he told everyone the night walk was my idea. Then, apparently, we were never mugged. Nope. Apparently, I just started talking trash to a stranger on the street in an attempt to make him show me he was a strong man and protect me. And the only reason we were able to get away was because he de-escalated the situation, and that it was emasculating because he was put in a position where he felt like he was forced to fight for my honor. Are you freaking kidding me? To make a long story short, he tried to play dumb and backpedal this morning when I confronted him about it. And then when I pressed him to be honest, he snapped again and said, "What was I supposed to say? The whole situation was embarrassing and it was going to make me look bad." We argued again for a bit, but I was just done. I told him to go and that it wasn't gonna work. He didn't have much stuff, so it was easy to put in a spare grocery bag and just toss that at him while he angrily left. He's currently outside of my complex waiting for mommy to pick him up. As far as I'm concerned, I dodged a bullet. Screw his friends, screw his mom, and screw him. Thank you for opening my eyes, Reddit. I was ready for the story to have a really good ending there until that last bit came out. OP absolutely made the right choice in leaving that guy. The fact that he even admitted the whole reason he didn't tell the truth was because it would be embarrassing. But I would say that even before it got out that he was lying, that he was already doing a very good job of embarrassing himself as is. The only thing that he did right was admitting that his actions put OP in more danger.